I hear this coming on. Okay.
Oh, I think you're gonna flip.
All right, ready? Okay, we just took a brief break. We in Elizabeth, New Jersey. BASA News, Zachariah Jackson. I'm happy and honored to be sitting with a civil rights legend that we, I mean, me and this guy's almost like Batman and Robin, him being Batman, and I'm Robin in another town. I come over, you know. The fight that he's put up for Black Americans, also for other minority groups. Let me touch base because I hear this a lot. I hear us saying, especially through the civil rights leaders, that they often mention the black and the brown. Okay. I've been fighting civil rights a long time. Holding the coattail of you, holding the coattail of Larry Ham, or whatever I can get from Al Sharpton I get. Okay. Can you explain to me who is the brown? Because I really don't know. I know who the black is. You know what I mean? I don't know who the brown. Explain who's brown.
Well, the brown people,
yes,
actually is the black people, but I'm gonna explain that. The reason why they're brown or recognized brown is again because, you know, when we talk about our history, when we talk about where we came from, when we talk about how we was developed as a people, I mean, we would go back further enough to slavery. There's a whole lot of other groups came out of us, you know, from Africa. So, just for the sake of argument, the brown people is the Latin folks, people who are some are immigrated, some are born here, some have migrated here in this country, and have pretty much established an economy and a way of life and what have you, but find themselves also in some of the same rut that we are in, that is racism, discrimination, and what have you. So the brown people are those individuals who are actually cousins of us, if you may.
Okay.
And so, because they're the extension of the African slave trade.
Sure.
And they went to those other islands, Spaniards and what have you.
Sure.
You know the history after that. But so that's what those people.
When we go to marches, and we've been in quite a few, where are they? Why they're not there? Why they're not there recognized like they should be? Because we criticize the black for not being there. Right. But there are some blacks that's there.
Right.
I've never been to a march where I've seen 50 brown, what you call black. I haven't seen 50 Spanish people.
Right, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're saying.
And stuff. So,
That's a
where are they?
That's a conversation that's not discussed enough although not discussed publicly enough. So, and I would say that a lot of people, not only me, because I'm not the smartest guy in the social justice world, African Americans had said over and over again how we defend all the other groups.
Sure.
But then where are those groups when we need them?
Right.
What we're seeing now is a group that never need no defending. That's the white group. Right. They out there in large numbers.
Sure.
And even some of them are dying in the struggle.
Yes.
Like the two that got shot in Wisconsin by white supremacists. So, yeah, people ask, well, where's these groups?
Let me ask this right here, and I'll interject this here.
Correct.
Salaam. Because I didn't know the two that got shot was white.
Yeah,
Okay. In our journey, from Dr. King on up to today, do we know how to honor them? Do we know how to honor or salute the whites that fight for social justice for us? That put their life on the line, just as me and you out here putting our life on the line. do we know how to say, hey, cheery up? Do we know how to do that?
Probably not, because we don't. There's still a trust. I mean, we had John Brown. We had in the civil rights struggle. We had Cheney, Smirnoff, and
Serena.
I can't think of the third. Three
Two blacks, one black and
one black and two white lost their life in the struggle, and there's plenty more. There was white women that was hanged.
That's right.
Trying to help the slave and hide them and what have you. There was, I mean, I could go on and on and on. The abolitionists that was there that worked with Frederick Douglass and worked with Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
So,
but see, because I think that where we're at now in the 21st century, we at a level of we are 20 years into the new century.
yeah,
The game, everything is different.
Yeah.
With social media, you know, once I take this and put it on YouTube, Facebook, this thing gonna go all over within seconds. Okay. I think for a sign of maturity, that the mature thing would be able to know how to salute those that fight on your side. Now, if you're in war and somebody is helping you with ammunition, you're running out, and they keep coming with that.
Yeah.
At some point, when do you say, hey, you know what? Thank you. Because I think that is important. I think it shows a sign of our maturity. You know what I mean? Because our fight has been black against the power structure, which basically has been white.
Right.
But we're seeing, and we've seen back in the day with Dr. King, that some of the whites are on our side. So how do we maturely salute them?
well, it's interesting because going back to the Hispanic populace, that we tend to, when we fight for everybody.
We fight for everybody.
Then we talk about fighting for the other groups. I mean, and we look for a return, or we don't get the return. There's white groups that have been there. I tell you, even during my little short time of living on this planet, and in the struggle, 35 years, I had some very good, sound, supportive white. They have helped sponsor certain things.
Sure.
I mean, they gave finance, helped sponsor certain things.
Sure.
They've been in the struggle. I mean, they took some hard hits.
Yes.
You know, they had pretty much stood up. There wasn't, and I know some whites right now will take a bullet.
Yeah.
And I know some blacks that wouldn't.
That would.
So when you talk about the white ally, the Hispanic ally, the other group, there've been whites that have been very much supportive. But I would say that to say what Malcolm said. Malcolm said, yeah, you can support us, but you can't lead us. You know what I'm saying? Because we have to lead ourselves. We have to always kind of make sure that our grounds are solid.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, there's still a white populace, a white structure, a white power system, and any given day, like my mom used to always say, they can always go home.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we appreciate those white allies. They're important. No doubt about it.
So at some point, we need to figure out how to salute them.
Sure.
And getting back to the black and brown community, the black and Asian communities, I often hear our leadership including everybody else. But I don't hear on the other side, when other people march, they march for themselves, for themselves. So, do we lose energy? Are we losing energy for fighting for all minorities, where we're not getting a pat on the back?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I love my brown brothers and sisters.
Yes.
I love my Asian brothers and
Yes.
sisters. I love my white brothers and sisters. I love all the other immigrants that's out there. But we have to really pay attention to us. We don't have an established economy like the Asian, like the Latino, like many of them. Our money don't even circulate one full time, where other communities 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 times. our situation, we tend to be still the worst. The last highest, first five, we're still the majority of the prison population,
Sure.
even though we only 14% or 13%, whatever it is. I mean, so, and other groups are doing much better, or they have safeguards to, even if they're in a situation, they can pull themselves out. We're almost, like Dr. King said, we bootless. And so, and we have to start being, I wouldn't say selfish, but full of ourselves, because we have to start to unify. And this is why one of the things you asked me about my next chapter, I want to start bringing us together and bringing our resources and nothing else, begin to share one another.
Well, how do we do this here, Salaam? Mainly in your case. How do you or other civil rights leaders go to the other communities of color and say, hey, we need 50 people? You know, I mean, you know,
Okay.
We don't just need you. Where are the rest?
Yes, they'll
You
send,
know
they'll
what I
send
mean?
their
You know,
representatives.
They'll send a representative in a minute, you know, and everything. And so, you know, these are things I think that.
Well, I think and this is no fault of them. This is fault on us.
Yes.
Because, look, what's the old saying is that people gonna do what you allow them to do,
Yes.
and you're gonna allow what only that you find acceptable. So we can stop it at any point. And we should, meaning that we should say, hey, wait a minute, pump the brakes.
That's right.
Brown people, let's sit down.
Because we all fight. If we all fighting this gang over here, I need you to be with me. Now, as a kid growing up in Newark, this country boy moved to Newark. He came late. When I say late, my family came from Georgia almost 50 years before they got here.
Right.
Okay. And he had a habit, Salaam, of when people would jump on me, and I go to fight back, he would hold me and say, don't fight, don't fight.
Right.
But while he holding me, the other person started beating me up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm putting it together. I said, well, maybe you must be down with them. So whenever I would get in an argument, what I started doing was fighting him first.
Okay.
And then the other person. Then he said, why you fight me? I said, because you're gonna grab me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, I won't grab you no more. I said, then I won't fight you no more.
I get it.
You understand? So what I guess what I'm trying to say is this right here. If we're moving from the stuff that you do, Salaam, and I often talk to you about it and say, do you really know, and I talk to Larry Ham about this too, do you really know the magnitude of the things that you do? You move mountains. And in moving that mountain, we get school teachers that look like us, of color. We get firemen that look like us. We get police officers that look like us. Well, guess what? Didn't Reverend Jesse Jackson say in 1988 about George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan? He said, well, y'all had the party, now it's time for y'all to pay for the party. He also said, I'll take Roosevelt Roosevelt in a wheelchair instead of George Bush and Ronald Reagan on a horse. But what I'm saying is that you see how we can look back, even at Reverend Jesse Jackson's work. We can look back at his work and his battle for everybody, of inclusion. Well, we need some help.
Well, I think that what's got to happen, and again, you allow what you let in.
Right.
I mean, and I think that what we should do now, and it's a good point, it's a good discussion. We need to sit down with those groups that we're partnering in.
That's right.
And helping to, for the most part, sacrifice our human resources to fight their battles with them, and they winning. Right. They getting what they want. They getting the law. They getting the whatever, and then we're looking around and we still fighting. And then we're looking back, and they're not there.
Right.
And I think that we need to have that discussion. That's a fair discussion.
It's a fair discussion.
It's a fair discussion because there's no way you can tell me. I mean, in every battle, whether it's the immigration issue.
That's right.
I know I've been in some of the groups here. I've been to their meetings.
That's
I've helped them organize.
That's right.
I rally. I made sure my people pushed out paper flyers. We done petitions.
That's right.
On the ground stuff for immigration rights. And even though people may argue, well, it's African immigration, whatever, but the gist of the immigration is the push for the Latino
That's
side.
right.
We know that. That's the bulk of that.
Because let me say this right here. We know human suffering, and we know human suffering here in the United States.
Sure we do.
We know teachers that wouldn't teach because they didn't want to see us go to the next level. We know that sometimes the school was set up to send us to jail. We know that. We feel that. And as a minority, as a person of color, Black American, you don't really want that on nobody else. I've seen how Congressman, help me now, when he just died, when he just died in Philly.
John Lewis.
No, not Lewis, before Lewis, in Maryland.
Oh, Congressman
Cummings.
Cummings.
And I seen how he was hollering when he noticed that the Latino kids was in cells and in this, that, and the other. And because he understand that pain, because that was part of what you call the Poor People's March. Okay. And we know that, but we don't seem to get that support coming back. And how will you, on your next chapter, work to say, hey man, I need you too?
Well, listen, again, one of the things I'm going to do, and it's moving forward, I want to sit down with the Latin American organization. I want to sit down with them. We have some, like Black to Latin caucus, but again, when it comes down to doing the work, everybody start doing their own stuff. But we need to sit down with them and say, hey, look, we need your support. We need your financial support. We need your human resource support. We need your electoral support. We need all that, like we give to you.
That's right.
Like we give to you.
We need you at the
level.
marches. We need those numbers at the marches.
We need to have those same numbers there at the marches. We need to see you there. We need to feel you. Because you are our brothers. You are extension of our family.
That's right.
And we already have a record of always being there for you.
That's right.
Always. So you can't argue that. So we just need to see you out there, and we need your support across the board. And it's only right. And I think if you don't challenge them, then they're not going to do it, because everybody's thinking about their own.
Right.
And some people, in many cases, very selfish about it. But we have to start challenging these groups that we go out on the line on. I say this all the time. Even I don't know if you're going to mention it, but the
LGBTQ community.
Yeah, the LGBT community. And hey, we fought for their rights.
Sure.
And for the most part, it's been primarily led by the white populace of the LGBTQ.
Okay.
Not the necessarily African American part of the LGBTQ community.
So we need to reach them. We got to pull them in.
So the LGBT community in the Black community have to do what they do and make sure that the diaspora of the LGBT community is also supporting issues around the LGBT community, Black. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So when we talk about supporting these various organizations, we always seem to be left out alone. Whether we're talking about even the immigration issue, the Africans are left out.
Sure.
LGBT community, our Black LGBT community is left out.
Well, are they left out, or they don't show up?
When I'm saying they're left out of those benefits that they're getting, and what have you. There's not a struggle for some of the issues that I know people in the LGBT community, Black community, go through that the LGBTQ white community would never go through.
Sure.
Or the Black African immigrants, go through that the Latin community would never go through.
But how do we? Okay, and I'm glad you brought that up. How do we reach these other communities, because they're so silent? Like, it's almost as though that, what we face, they don't face.
It's absolutely.
Absolutely. And stuff. And the few that come over, they don't seem to go back and pull more of them over. So is it a class thing with them, or what is it?
No, I don't think it's a class. I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's that they are pretty much raised to just deal with their own, even though their savior is us, for the most part. But what we have to do is, certain things we're gonna have to demand.
Another demand certain things.
And if not, then we're gonna need to mind our own business.
Yeah.
We have to stop being the superhero to everybody.
Yes.
And Jesse Jackson started the Rainbow Coalition, and it worked well. But after the 80s and the 90s, like whoa, mass incarceration came up and started going crazy. And nobody came to our rescue. They just watched our black boys go to jail and prison and what have you. And they caught up in crack and all that kind of stuff. Ain't nobody help us.
Sure.
So, but yet we had a Rainbow Coalition of very different groups and what have you.
But did we?
Forward.
Okay, I've never seen the Rainbow Coalition in action, and I'm sure you have. You've probably been to marches with the Rainbow Coalition.
I remember.
Okay. Were there great numbers of other people?
No.
It was always
No.
like
It was
one representative here and one representative. We need more than that. We need more than that.
No, I'm saying that, no doubt about it. I mean, the concept was good. The idea was good, bringing folks together from multiple perspectives.
Sure.
But yeah, to answer your question, because if it was that strong, some of the issues that we're dealing with today, and I'm not talking about the Trump issues, I'm talking about before the Trump issues.
Sure.
I'm talking about issues when Obama was in control and before that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no doubt about it that no, that didn't come to full fruition.
Sure.
I know. I've been.
You was there. You were there. Well, I'm gonna end this, bring this interview to a close, and I guess what I would like to say is that we honor this hero, Salaam Ismiall. And you know, when you're building a city, and when a city is being built, there's great machinery that come along, cranes and bulldozers and things of that nature. Almost as though the bulldozers don't even need an escort into the city while they're building it up. And almost as though it was just there. It's expected to be there. But once all the city is finished, and the grounds are laid, and the nice buildings, nice structures are built and things of that nature, a bulldozer would need a police escort. Why? Because they could destroy something. It don't look fashionable no more. I'm in Elizabeth, a bulldozer right now wouldn't look fashionable on Broad Street. What are you going to do with a bulldozer on Broad Street? But as I'm looking at this little canal over here, looking at this little waterway that they have, this beautiful little park that we're in here, I know a bulldozer done its work. Well, I think that's what guys like this guy has been. He's been that great bulldozer, the earth mover, dig down deep into the core, build a foundation. But now guess what? As time serves us all, it's time to honor people like this. If you can't please lend support, physical support, economic support, help guys like this out. Because guys like this is the reason why a lot of us are school teachers, a lot of us are police officers, a lot of us are firemen, a lot of us are mayors, a lot of us are councilmen, district leaders, and it never stops. Don't think because you got there because you were so educated or so cute or whatever. You got there because people like this guy that knocked on the door when many of us was afraid. He knocked on the door anyway. And knock on the door and say, open the door. Open the door, let me in. hey, open the door, let this guy in. And they come in and they sit down, dialogue, and people say, you know what? Let's let him in. Let the people in. So again, Salaam Ismiall, lovely brother.
We'll be back.
And let's keep on working. And we're gonna do more
Makes
interviews.
sense.
We're gonna do more interviews for his 35-year anniversary. Again, I'm gonna leave with the old Jesse Jackson tune. Keep hope
Alive.
alive. Amen.